How much do you value your technology? It seems that these days, modern mankind can't do without their smartphones, tablets, laptops, media streamers, or various other doodads. It's hard to even think of living in a time when we were without these luxuries, of a time when man was cold, wet, and afraid of the night. But around 1300 years ago, one Greek man told a story of a time before even that, and of one deity who changed everything for mankind. In 8th century BC, Hesiod wrote Theogony, which was his epic poem depicting the creation myth and the origin of the gods of ancient Greece. This story tells the complicated genealogy of the gods, the creation of the Titans' rule and subsequent overthrow by Zeus and his siblings, the rise of the Olympian gods, and some dealings after. Among these dealings, my favorite is the tale of the Titan Prometheus, the god of forethought, because he and his brother Epimetheus, the god of hindsight, sided with Zeus and his siblings in the gods' war against the Titans. They were spared the fate shared by the opposing Titans, who were all cast into the pit of Tartarus. Traditionally, the story of Prometheus starts properly when he took pity on humans for their pitiful state of being vulnerable and terrified of the dark and the cold. Prometheus favored humans over the gods, so he bestowed upon them their first gift of technology, fire. Later, after Zeus made a decree that all mankind must sacrifice a portion of every meal they ate to the gods, Prometheus felt it would be a good idea to play a little prank on Zeus. Prometheus was never that fond of Zeus after he sent most of Prometheus's family to the depths of Tartarus. When it came time to choose what the sacrifice would be, Prometheus tricked Zeus into choosing the bones of an animal rather than the fine meat, which was left for man to eat. Zeus was honor bound to hold true to the sacrifice, which did not leave him too pleased when he discovered the trick. He punished mankind by taking fire away from them, but Prometheus used the sun to light a torch and stole fire away again, giving it once more to man. When Zeus found that man had fire once again, he was furious and decided to punish man yet again by having Hephaestus and Hermes create the mortal woman Pandora, who later opened the jar given to her by the gods, which unleashed all the world's calamities, but sealed hope inside once it was closed. He also punished Prometheus by dragging him into the Caucasus Mountains, having him chained to a mountain with unbreakable chains, and made it to where an eagle would come devour Prometheus' liver every day for eternity, while the liver magically regenerated every night. Don't worry, eventually Prometheus is freed from his torment by Heracles. This story in particular is my favorite because it tells of how mankind obtained its first technology. We weren't clever enough on our own to discover fire, so according to this, Prometheus took pity on us and gifted us with the means to develop ourselves as a race. I've always thought this story interesting due to the fact that humans have always been so dependent upon technology, and to see one story of how we may have become that way is fascinating. Hesiod used one of the three media available to him at the time to tell his story, print. While the stories were later told through the other two forms, oral tradition and artwork, Hesiod made sure to write his down. The story is presented in the form of a didactic poem, or a poem that is intended to teach a lesson. While the story of Prometheus has been alluded to in several different forms of media for centuries, there's never really been any outright retellings of the story. Prometheus has shown up in many paintings over the last few centuries, as well as sculptures, and more recently television shows like Supernatural, and even video games like God of War 2. It's worthy of note, however, that Mary Shelley's Frankenstein is actually called Frankenstein or the Modern Prometheus. The tale of Frankenstein and his monster do have some parallels with Prometheus, being that both stories' main characters create human life, and both suffer eventual punishment resulting from that creation. But aside from some allusions over the last few centuries, it doesn't appear that anyone felt it necessary to adjust Hesiod's work, with the exception of some later Greek and Roman authors who added in a part where Prometheus created man from clay before gifting them with fire. Other accounts omit Prometheus' connection with Pandora completely, which I feel is an important detail considering Pandora was a punishment for man meted out by Zeus, and was a direct result of Prometheus' actions. Roman culture did adjust some of their mythology from Hesiod's poem. As their main mythos revolves around the twins Romulus and Remus, there's no account of the Titanomachy, or the war between the Olympians and the Titans. Also, all accounts of Roman mythology are written in prose as opposed to the traditional Greek poetry. In my opinion, the same thing that draws me to this story is what draws most people. A story of the origins of human technology and the ascension of man from primitive to modern has appealed to anyone living in this age. The underlying moral of the story, that tells us playing God is dangerous, has just as much appeal too, considering the heights and depths to which our ever evolving technology can deliver us.